Hey there, Skullheads. I'm Snags.
And I'm old Silky.
And Chuck Norris fucking died. So we got to do a Chuck Norris episode. That's what's going on tonight.
Yeah, this is our Chuck Norris Memorial episode. Episode 137 for those who keeping track.
Yeah.
There will be a final exam.
He's chasing the Grim Reaper down and kicking his ass right now, apparently.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Apparently some words were said, and he said,
that's what's
"Okay, you
going
know
on.
what? I'm going to come down there," and
Yeah.
so that's
It's fucking some shit up.
what's happening.
Yeah.
Fucking nuts, man.
Crazy. It's knucking futs.
Narkin Futz. So we had other episodes planned, and we had always I personally had kicked around the idea of doing a Chuck Norris episode, and then
Yes.
he
Silky's
you know
the
this
Silky's the
happened.
Chuck Norris expert. So I'll be providing the witty banter tonight.
A few years ago, um I think I was somewhere, and they had Breaker for like $8 on DVD,
Oh,
and
nice.
it had I would say it probably had like the original poster as the cover. It's kind of a cartoony um, caricature drawing of a guy in a 18 wheeler, crashing through. And as you know, the 70s were uh, the era of the
Trucker
long
film.
haul trucker.
Yeah, everybody had to make a trucker film.
I
That's
mean,
just
from
par for the course.
Convoy
Yeah.
to um obviously BJ and the
Oh,
Bear, which
one of the best ones though, and I say this, you're gonna think I'm joking. Truck Stop Women.
yeah,
Eh,
yeah,
that's a B movie with a lot of tits, but it's actually a good, well-made, fun movie. Truck
yeah.
Stop Women. Check it out.
I I recently saw that.
Yeah,
Uh, I know that's a great one.
yeah.
And then, but some of the TV shows, it was all over TV. Um,
Well, I mean,
what's the
Smokey and the Bandit and Cannonball Run were kind of trucker movies. They had trucks
Yeah,
in them, and there's a lot of
yeah,
flying down the highway shit.
definitely Smokey and the Bandit, but it was early '70s with Claude Akins. Do you remember that?
Oh,
Not
oh,
Lobo.
yeah, there was a trucker series with him in it. It's a TV show, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I used to watch that. I don't remember what it was called.
But yeah, the just in light, I think it was called Moving On.
Yeah, that's what it was called. Moving on.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Um, but the '70s were just heavy in that. But I do so. He was Chuck Norris was born Carlos Ray Norris in 1940, and um, his father was pretty much absent from his childhood, and his parents would eventually divorce when he was 16. Um, so here's another example of a woman having children, and the husband bails
Yeah, and they were poor. I did watch a
dirt for.
Chuck Norris bio documentary before after we decided to do this, and they were dirt poor, man. They were just
Yeah.
She was
Um,
raising him and his two brothers, and they had nothing.
yeah, and Carlos would basically become the man of the household, and um, just almost played a father role to his brothers.
Yeah. Now he
And
wasn't he wasn't banging the mom, but he
no, no,
was he was raising
yeah,
the kids.
yeah,
Yeah, he was
yeah.
raising his brothers.
So everything but
Yeah. Everything except for the mom banging. Yeah.
the mama side, whatever you would call that.
He wasn't doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for you know,
Lowering the bar.
clarifying. Uh, just that's great. But no, but like you think about Stephen King, his father bailed, his mother dirt ass poor.
Yeah.
There's a pattern, you know. A lot of musicians had the abusive dad, Stevie Ray Vaughan, KK Downing.
The
Just
drummer from Aerosmith.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Joey Kramer.
Yeah.
Uh, a lot of these guys, and it's all coming out of the 50s and 60s. Um, just lighting the fuse for these some of these amazing careers that have benefited our lives. And then I look at Snags and I both had absolutely horrific childhoods, and somehow that creativity just didn't take.
Well, the creativity took, just nobody
It's
gives a shit.
yeah, we're creative as fuck, and
Nobody cares.
nobody cares.
Yeah. Right.
Damn it. But we struggle on, and one day these tapes will be sought after.
Yeah, we're gonna release them on 8 track
Uh-huh. Limited 8 track, numbered,
edition. Yeah, it'll be a glow in the
numbered.
dark 8 track cassette,
Yeah,
and
numbered, and then
yeah,
jagged edged posters that if you fit together, it makes a
makes 137 episodes.
yeah. Uh,
Oh, fun
anyway,
times.
yeah. So Carlos held black belts in karate, taekwondo, tang sudo, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, not to be confused with American jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
A lot of people confuse them.
I think he
Um,
had a black belt in Love You Long Time too. I
Love you
think.
long time and judo.
Yeah.
Um, and then so in the early 60s, he goes over to the Air Force. Um, he's stationed in Korea, and a fellow soldier asked him, that was Hispanic, asked him if he knew what his name meant in English, and he knew it was Charles. And this guy said, "Well, I'm going to call you Chuck," and then everyone else started calling him Chuck, and the moniker stuck, and so from that point on, he was Chuck Norris.
Chuck stuck, baby. Chuck
Chuck
stuck.
stuck.
Yeah.
Um, and so he gets out of the Air Force. He's working during the day and teaching karate in the backyard at night. They had these floodlights, and they would do karate at night. And it's funny. His brother Aaron talks about how when they first started doing the classes, there'd be like 5 or 10 heads looking over the fence at them doing these classes, and then as it went on, there'd be 20 and 30 people. So, um, you know, it made me think of how Van Halen had their backyard parties, and just everybody came. Um, Not to the same extent, but Chuck Norris would teach these classes, and it just took off from his mom's backyard. He would eventually be running 2 karate schools, and they were kind of successful. But the word had spread, and he had all these celebrities. He actually had um, Donnie and Marie Osmond, Priscilla Presley, as celebrity students, along with yeah,
Priscilla got hardcore into karate.
yeah. She was all about it.
Elvis
Um,
introduced her to it, and
yeah,
then
and I
and
personally would let Priscilla beat my ass.
Elvis, yeah, especially if it's full contact,
Yeah,
rolling on the ground, jujitsu stuff.
as long as she was touching me, I'd be
Yeah,
totally fine with
but
whatever
apparent the story
was
behind that,
happening.
Elvis, he had all these other girls, And he basically, once she had the daughter, he wasn't hitting that anymore. She was feeling neglected,
Oh,
and
100. Yeah.
she got into karate as just an outlet. And then she ended up meeting this karate, like a nationally famous karate instructor. I forget his name, and he started,
Mike Stone.
yeah, Mike Stone. He started banging her, and
Yeah.
then she left Elvis for Mike Stone, and Elvis almost took out a contract on Mike Stone and
Yeah,
had
he
him
wanted to
kill.
kill the guy.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, Priscilla was so incredibly hot.
I that's what I don't
I
understand. Like
I
Elvis was
just
screwing all these women. Why
yeah.
couldn't he just keep
I
Priscilla in the rotation?
he had he had some serious I'm gonna say it. Elvis had severe mom
Yeah,
issues.
yeah, yeah, he did.
And
Absolutely.
I think he had this odd kink that every female he, got alone with, he almost wanted to have them be the mom.
I'm noticing a theme in this episode.
And he wanted to cuddle and all that, and not
Yeah,
a lot of women in the books I've read talk about how they would spend the night with him and there would be no sex. So it was
yeah,
really,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm just like, bro, Priscilla Presley in 1970?
yeah, yeah.
Are you fucking
Well,
kidding
but
me?
the thing is, he was tagging other women and
Oh yeah.
neglecting Priscilla. It's like just keep her in the rotation. She probably would have
Yes.
been happy. But anyways,
Something. It's just
we
bizarre.
we digress.
Yes. So he's running these two karate schools, and he gets approached by a nationwide firm that wants to uh, put his schools across the nation. And he's saying, well, 100% of two schools is, not as much as like 10% of 100 schools, so he was all about it and sold the schools. And then um, the whole thing went belly up like 2 years later. So early 70s, he's hanging out with Steve McQueen, and Steve McQueen's like, well, what are you going to do? And he's like, I really don't know. And at that time he had a daughter, he had a wife, and he's just not sure what to do. And then also a huge thing in 1970, Waylon Norris was killed in Vietnam. At that point, Chuck's like 27 years old, and he loses his brother. And one thing about Chuck Norris is a huge foundation of his entire psyche was family, the importance of family, the strength of a family. And I just think a lot of that uh, would affect him. Um, but his passion for karate and martial arts would lead to him becoming all American karate champion. Um, he battled all across the world. I think they would tour in these karate tournaments and
Yeah,
stuff.
he went from like all city champion to state champion and national champion to international. He ended up being world champion, which
Yeah,
was for a honky to be world karate champion. That's what got Bruce Lee's attention. Was
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and that's what I was getting to. Uh, he won the tournament for All American Karate Championship at Madison Square Garden, and Bruce Lee was there um, at that, and they would develop a friendship in '68. Um, so in '68, he uh, he retires from that, retiring undefeated towards the end. I mean, it doesn't mean he lost fights, but no one ever took the belt from him um, at the end. So, um, but him and Bruce Lee become close friends. That friendship would lead to Chuck appearing in Way of the Dragon. Now, anytime I watch Bruce Lee, I'm reminded of the two pretty decent episodes that we did on Bruce Lee and the book in the second episode that we did. Um, and that book is amazing. I can't think of the title right now, but um, check out that other episode.
Yeah, we've
Uh,
got two Bruce Lee episodes. If you search Snags and Bruce Lee on Spotify, you'll find both of them.
but when I watch any Bruce Lee, I'm reminded of the early days, Snags and I living on Courtney in Atlanta, uh, Snags suffering in the soul draining hellhole of Blockbuster
Yeah,
Video.
I worked at Blockbuster Video. That was an
Um,
interesting experience.
but he would bring home like six movies at a time, and it was just incredible to at that age, having heard of Bruce Lee, but at legit sitting down and watching the real movies,
Yeah.
not all the Bruce exploitation movies that cut up all the scenes and had him appearing everywhere. Um, just those first four movies, and Way of the Dragon was just a fucking awesome. And I think most of the world, they're watching this. Here's Bruce Lee, this amazing guy, and then Chuck Norris um, comes in, and most of your karate movies were just all 100% Asian. You know, um,
Yeah, he did a lot, I think, for the honky American community in martial arts, as far as
yeah.
just, m- paving the way for people like Jean-Claude Van Damme and Steven Seagal and these other
Oh,
guys.
100%.
Yeah.
Um, but and it's funny that Chuck wasn't in Return of the Dragon. Um, I guess that it was not quite.
Well, he did that scene in Way of the Dragon as a one-off. He wasn't trying to be an actor.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
didn't decide to be an actor until later on. It was like a few years down the road after that movie where
yeah. It would have been 74, I think. But
he
um,
started going to auditions, and that didn't work out. And then he ended up writing and financing Good Guys Wear Black.
yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
But I mean, with Chuck appearing in Way of the Dragon, it was probably a first for a lot. Oh, here's a white karate guy, and I'm sure
Yeah.
that got people thinking, "Wow, this
Honky American, please.
we could
Yeah.
do this."
Yeah.
And I have to mention Jim Kelly, um, karate dude.
Oh yeah.
He was he. I'm sure he had a few movies. I did see one. I can't remember the name of
Wasn't
it,
he
but
Black Belt Jones? Isn't that Jim
yeah,
Kelly?
I
I
think
think that.
so. I think
Yeah.
so. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's a shame he didn't do more uh, movies. I mean, I'm saying that, and I just don't know. He may have done a slew,
Yeah. Well, he
but
did the one with Bruce Lee.
yeah,
And then
Black
and
Belt Jones.
yeah.
But
I'm gonna look it up while you keep
yeah, look
talking.
that up, and I'll continue. So they do Way of the Dragon, and he's the main antagonist in the epic battle to the death in the Colosseum. Um, those were just that's just such a fantastic fight at the end of that
Oh,
movie.
Jim Kelly was in a ton of shit. So
Okay,
yeah,
that's cool.
his second ever movie was Enter the Dragon. He
Okay,
was in that. And then Black Belt Jones, and
Black
then
Belt Jones.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's in one called Black Samurai, Tattoo Connection, which was also Black Belt Jones 2.
Oh, nice.
He was in a lot
I'm
of
gonna
these.
have to go on a Jim Kelly movie
Yeah,
because
you
he's just
should.
great.
He
He's
he
fucking great.
he now a lot of these he's appearing as himself because they were documentaries.
Oh,
But he was doing martial arts movies up until 1992.
wow.
So he was in quite a few of them.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, so Steve McQueen tells him to, take some roles or, to get into acting. And I will mention in 1968, um, the Wrecking Crew, um, um,
The
I'm
session
trying,
musicians?
no, the movie
Oh, okay.
that, um, oh my God. Oh, I can't think of his name.
Now you're gonna make me look up something else. All right, I'll look it
Uh,
up. Keep talking.
Martin, Martin and Lewis. Not Jerry Lewis, but
Oh, Dean Martin? Dean Martin.
Jesus,
Dean
man,
Martin. I know you're thinking of
this is how
Dean
tired I
the
am.
Dean Martin
I'm not Dean.
Dean Martin movies. And Silky's frozen up. He always has technical difficulties, so we'll just wait until he unfreezes. Maybe he should uh, log off and log back in. We'll see if that works. You never know with Silky's situation. Log off and log back in. Silky has technical difficulties all the time because he doesn't have a good internet connection. He lives out in the boondocks in Fort Myers, Florida. So we will wait for that. And I'll try to entertain you cats in the meantime. And we'll see what happens. Yeah, so Silky's thing crashed and he's gonna log off and log back in. And oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna share the top 10 Chuck Norris jokes with you cats in the meantime. So here we go. Top 10 Chuck Norris jokes. All right. Chuck Norris doesn't read books. He stares them down until he gets the information he wants. Next one. Hold on. Oh, looks like Silky's coming back. Next one. Time waits for no man unless that man is Chuck Norris. Next one. When God said, "Let there be light," Chuck Norris said, "Say please, motherfucker."
Did you do the one where he doesn't do push-ups?
Now I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Oh,
Chuck Norris doesn't wear a watch. He decides what time it is. Death once had a near Chuck Norris experience. I think Death is having a Chuck Norris experience right now.
you're goddamn right.
Chuck Norris can drown a fish. Chuck Norris's tears cure cancer, but he never cries.
Wow.
When Chuck Norris does push-ups, he doesn't push himself up, he pushes the earth down.
There you go.
All right. And Chuck Norris is the only person on the planet who can divide by zero.
Nice.
Last but not least, the boogeyman checks under his bed for Chuck Norris.
There you go.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
That's great. So we had
Yeah.
some minor difficulty
Yeah.
there.
I explained all that.
Okay.
All right, what's next?
So what I was getting at is he's got a bit role in the Wrecking Crew with Dean Martin.
All right.
Uh, when they go to the House of Seven Joys, if you ever tracked that movie there, good
Uh,
movie. Um, he's in the crowd there. Uh,
oh, nice.
if
In the
you
crowd.
blink, if you blink, you're gonna miss him. But just picture a very young Chuck Norris. I mean, he's got a recognizable face, but I mean, I had to really, ride the pause button to catch him.
All right.
Um, and then he's in Way of the Dragon. Then he's in an obscure movie called Student Teachers, which is a. Do you remember the dad in Gremlins?
No, I don't even know if I ever saw Gremlins, to tell
Oh,
you the
okay.
truth.
Well, this guy was in a ton of um
B movies,
George who's the Romero,
George Romero.
George Romero.
Yeah.
Well, no, we not George Romero. We did the oh, I just forgot his name. The director. We did an episode with him,
Oh,
and
Roger
I
Corman.
Roger Corman.
Yeah.
This guy that's in Student Teachers, he's the janitor in this high school, and he's just this creeper. And a couple of girls. There's tits in it. You'd like it. Um,
Student teachers. Gotta look it
yeah,
up. Okay.
student teachers. Um, but Chuck Norris plays a karate instructor on the campus,
Okay.
and he's in like one or two scenes. But it was fun to see if I could even find it when I got on my rampage of let's track down all the Chuck Norris movies. Um,
Right.
and I found it all. I actually my copy is from DVD Lady, which we tend to
Yes.
praise on this podcast.
If you
For
cannot find a movie, you can
Yeah,
find it on DVD, lady.
yeah, and there's a few others, but yeah, student teachers. There's quite a few bit character actors in this low budget thing, but probably a good drive-in movie back in the day.
Hmm.
Um, that was in '73. That's considered like his second movie, if you think of Way of the Dragon. Um, then he's in Yellowface Tiger, which was a vehicle where they tried to break a Hong Kong actor over in America. So he's a Chinese police officer on the San Francisco police force, and I believe he's got a black partner, and the two of them, uh,
Wait, you mean a cop show with a black partner? That never
yeah,
happens.
never,
They never did
um,
that.
no. So uh, this movie, Yellowface Tiger, in '74, would later get re-released in the movie theater in 1981, pretending that Bruce Lee, or excuse me, that Chuck Norris was
Star.
the star of it,
Right.
and he's basically the evil drug kingpin
Got you.
uh, at the end, and he's a bad guy, and our hero, the Chinese police officer, um, beats Chuck Norris at the end of the movie.
Ah.
So, and I believe that would be his last bad guy role, you know.
Hmm.
Um, but then so there's like 3 years go by. I believe in '74 is when McQueen said, you know, what are you going to do now that these schools have gone belly up?
Right.
And he really didn't know what he was going to do, so he takes some acting classes, and then I believe him and his brother, very low budget, but they made Breaker Breaker as an independent.
Did
Uh,
they? In that biography, it sounded like it all started with Good Guys Wear Black, but maybe they just
well,
skipped over that.
yeah, because Breaker Breaker was '77,
Okay.
and then so maybe okay. I bet this is what it is. He lands the role in Breaker Breaker, and then
Right.
with the success of that, they made Good Guys Wear Black.
It it
And
it could be. I'm about to find out though.
yeah, but Good Guys Wear Black was awesome in that you would see the commercial on TV, and the cars coming right at him, and Norris leaps into the air as a flying sidekick and just
Yeah.
uh, slams into the
Through the
windshield.
windshield. Yeah, that was crazy.
And no one had seen anything like it. Was, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Um,
So good Breaker Breaker, yeah, was a low budget film that he got a role in. He got an acting role in that.
yeah,
And then Good Guys Wear Black, yeah, they made that one and self-financed it. Even they even self-exhibited it. Like nobody wanted it, so they would rent movie theaters and sell tickets.
Yeah.
They would for that's called four-walling.
Yeah. And
So
hang out at a local motel and count their money and
yeah,
move on. That's badass,
that's
by
what
the
they had
way.
to do originally. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, and then really, this is like the breakthrough because the next run, we're talking 1979, really to 1990. Um, you had a solid release of movies. Um, Force of One is awesome. Octagon, Eye for an Eye. Um, Silent Rage is one of my favorites, where this guy is almost a robot, or I think he is a robot, and looks human, and is just on this terror. And Chuck Norris is this cop just going after this who he thinks is a murderer. Turns
I
out this guy's a fucking robot.
I do gotta say, just going back to Good Guys Wear Black, that Jim Backus was in that.
Yeah, yeah,
Thurston Howell the third, that guy
yeah.
laid some major cable around Hollywood.
Oh yeah.
He was
He was
banging
Mr. Magoo.
Mr. Magoo was banging the starlets left and right apparently.
Oh yeah.
And he could also clear a room with a beer fart apparently.
Mr. Magoo would walk
Yeah.
into a room and the fish would stop swimming.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Crazy. Crazy town.
hung hung like a fucking bear.
Yeah. Yeah. According to Silky's mom, that's what she told us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They called him Uncle Thick Dick.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, Silent Rage was one of those sci-fi, and I would almost have liked to have seen a few more like that, where this thing just won't die.
Yeah.
Um, and I believe at the end, Norris just kicks this thing down a hole. This killer robot thing, and this is before Terminator.
I was just gonna ask, when did Terminator come out? Yeah.
Well, this is 82, so
Yeah.
you look up Terminator.
I think
I
Terminator
think
was like 84, I think.
I
Something
think
like that.
Terminator was 84, but
Yeah.
Silent Rage, that is a creepy ass movie, and
Yeah.
it's done really well. And I would say it's in the fucking height of Chuck Norris,
Yeah.
the Rage. So Silent Rage 82, Forced Vengeance 1982, and that is another kick ass movie. Um, Lone Wolf McQuade 83, and that's the one every man we couldn't wait. I snuck in to see it. It was rated R, and
Wow. It's got
the hockey,
that one has David Carradine in it from
yeah,
fucking that's a big deal.
yeah, yeah, and his buddy, the old Codgers, all kind of old. He was in a few Elvis movies. Uh, White hair, just a cowboy dude,
Uh-huh.
character actor. But Lone Wolf McQuade was just kick ass, and this started to set the tone for uh, like even in the video games, just the lone guy, Street Fighter, all it was just all coming together.
Yeah.
That early '80s. There's a great movie about Orion Pictures and AI. It might have been American International as well. One of these, there was a small company that picked Chuck Norris up, and they're all over that first run of movies, Octagon and Force of One, and they were just seat of their pants production company,
Hmm.
and Chuck Norris was their fucking breadwinner.
Nice.
And they made a lot of just that classic early 80s action film, and it was the decade for it. The
Right.
action film and the slasher films and the horror films were just, there was a style in the 80s, and those movies are just timeless and classic, exploitative, and all the negative that you can throw at it, but they will always be in demand. I think,
Nice.
Um, but then the big one was missing in action. 1984, mid 80s, Vietnam was just so popular.
Yeah,
Every
fucking Platoon, Hamburger
Yeah,
Hill, all that
yeah.
shit.
Um, the the one with Gene Hackman. Um, oh, I can't think of it. Right around that time, Uncommon Valor.
Yeah.
Um, God, that was a good one too. But most of them, even
Oh, and then there's the Michael J. Fox one too. I forget what that was called.
oh yeah,
He did
yeah, that
some.
was later, but yeah,
He did a Vietnam movie. It was in the
yeah,
80s though. He was trying to be a serious actor for a second
yeah.
before he became Shaky McWakey.
With what's his name? Sean Penn was in
See now, Michael J. Fox should have starred in Shakes the Clown.
Shakes the Clown.
Yeah,
Yeah,
instead of Bobcat Goldthwait. That would have
right.
been better casting.
Shake it, don't break it.
Yeah.
But missing in action was huge, and then he, immediately missing in action two. Uh, those two Braddock movies, they were just great, and right around that time, First Blood comes out, so Vietnam was just
Oh
huge.
yeah, the Rambo
Um,
movies. Yeah.
yeah, even down to Miami Vice. Don Johnson's character was
Yeah.
and Don
Well,
Johnson was in a TV movie where he's a Vietnam,
it all started in the late 70s with Deer Hunter and Apocalypse Now. I mean,
Yeah,
just,
that is a solid point there.
yeah.
Um, but so 85, he also did Code of Silence, which is another great movie. He's a cop in Chicago, and I mean he could do no wrong at this point. They were just making good action movies. This has the same grittiness that the beginning of Beverly Hills Cop has, uh, where he's in Detroit and it's just all dirty and the same look. Then he does Invasion USA, which was kind of modeled after the just all the drugs coming in, and um, then the next year Delta Force. That was remember the TWA hijacking.
No, I don't.
So one summer there was a plane on the tarmac, and they had these people held hostage, and on the cover of one of the magazines, the hijackers got the pilot's head out of the plane with a gun to his head. That was like all recreated for Delta Force.
Got ya.
Um, Pretty heavy fucking movie. And it's funny, you think in '86 that happened. Now that happened over in Europe, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But the TWA flight was hijacked. Um, it would take another 15 years for them to figure out maybe we should have something in place where people can't get on a plane with a gun.
Yeah.
It's just interesting.
Yeah.
Uh, and then it starts to fall apart after '86. Firewalker was a movie with the guy from Officer and a Gentleman, the bald black guy. He was in Jaws 3.
Louis Gossett Jr.
Louis Gossett Jr. Thank you. Um,
That's a
and that's
J. Lee Thompson movie. Now, J. Lee Thompson is one of Quentin Tarantino's favorite directors, and he did a lot of those 80s Charles Bronson movies
mhm,
for Canon Pictures that are
right,
they are fucking brutal. There's nothing 80s pie in the sky about those movies. They are
right.
down and dirty. So it'd be interesting to see this one and see if J. Lee Thompson brought that style to it or not.
Yeah, I Firewalkers like them ripping each other and going after bad guys. To
Mm.
me, it's a typical Louis Gossett Jr. movie.
Yeah, okay.
um,
Well, there you go.
where he was making just good time action movies.
All right.
So I like that one, but it's a little corny.
Well,
It's it's a it has
It's not your Charles Bronson, J. Lee Thompson kind of
no
thing.
this
Yeah.
this has more of a comedic thing
Mm,
if you put it next to Delta Force, Invasion USA,
yeah.
Code of Silence. Those are just hard action flicks. This brings a bit more of a camaraderie between the two of them, which it's entertaining, but I won't say it's a Bronson film. Um, and then I think I think because Norris lost his brother in Vietnam,
Hmm.
um, Braddock MIA 3 comes out, and that's a tough movie to get through. There's just a lot of emotional drama in it, and
Right.
you're like, what? I remember even seeing it in '88 at 17. I was like, man, this is not. So that was pretty much it. There's one called Hero and the Terror, which is kind of an odd bit. They started making movies that a lot of them went straight to video or had more of that um, cheaper film stock to it,
Yeah.
which to me jumps out when you put it on. You're like, what is this? You know.
Yeah.
But then Delta Force 2 came out in 1990, and that was a great movie. That's like the SEALs and dealing with almost like Iran hostage type situation. Um, so that's his run for me up to Delta Force 2. And then there's a handful of things after Hitman, Sidekicks, Hellbound, Top Dog. Then he did some kind of um, almost his spiritual mindset in martial arts. Forest Warrior and Bells of Innocence.
Hmm.
He does a walk on Dodgeball where he
Hmm.
plays himself, and then he's in Expendables 2 as Chuck Norris. And then we of course we have to mention um, this ran almost 8 9 years. Walker Texas Ranger was huge, uh, but it captured his mindset of a family, wholesome kind of above board anti drug kind of run. And he plays a Texas Ranger who just kicks ass and goes after everybody, all the bad guys. And but it's a TV, so it does have that kind of cheap film stock look. But it's a good time if you're into Chuck Norris. There's a good run of those, and he would come back, I think, in 2005 and do a 2 hour movie. Uh, Texas Ranger. Um, but one thing I would throw out, and I wish Rabbit was on here because I don't know that you went to see a lot of these,
No, I
but
didn't.
I said it briefly before that I think Norris had the better run of quality movies, uh, really from '79 to '90. Um, Almost all of those were 5-star action movies.
Right.
Um, and and then Stallone and Schwarzenegger would take the spotlight in the '80s as to who had the better movie, and they would trade barbs in the magazines and stuff. Um, but I would say Norris, Stallone, Schwarzenegger, and then Bronson was always by himself and just made good action movies, and he didn't give two fucks where he was placed. So I put him as fourth on that. But you know, uh, it's funny as everyone kind of, like I say, the spotlight was on Stallone and Schwarzenegger, and really Norris and Bronson just had such a good run. Bronson made a ton of just uh, tough guy kicks ass for an hour and a half,
Right.
all through the early '70s.
Right.
So, but I would just say Chuck Norris was the real deal. He was all about family and endurance, just never giving up in the face of diversity, and giving back to the community. He had a thing that he started called Kickstart Kids, where he would go into the inner cities, all these kids that were at risk of joining gangs and all this other shit, and he would get them all into karate and these tournaments and things. And people that went through that program, some of them came back and became teachers to continue it, to teach other kids. I think that's pretty fucking cool.
That is
And
cool.
and then he on the set of Texas or Walker Texas Ranger, he had just a bunch of Make a Wish uh, Foundation kids come that wanted to meet him, and some pretty tear jerking footage of some of these kids who are probably not with us. Um, where no, Chuck's just right down in their face, telling them, how honored he is to have their support and everything. Um, and what's funny, there was even a Saturday morning cartoon that Chuck Norris did, similar in style to the Mr. T cartoon, um, whereas it was called the Karate Commandos, and they would go uh, solve crimes and shit.
Right.
But he would come on at the beginning, at the end, a la uh, um, like the Fat Albert type shit.
Right.
He would just give a little live action intro and outro, like Bill Cosby.
Nice.
So, but that's all I got for Chuck Norris.
Well, there you go. Uh, he's uh, he's kicking ass in the afterlife now.
Yeah.
It
Um,
won't be the same over there. Not with Chuck
no,
Norris in town.
but Chuck was just the shit, man. Those first some of these guys made like one or two solid movies. I mean, you can rave about Schwarzenegger, but there's really like four or five like tops, his run, or Stallone with Rocky and uh, Terminator. I'm sorry, Rocky and Rambo.
Hmm.
Um, and that's those are we're talking about two characters, and Norris just has just back to back to back, just kicking at. I mean, it makes you wonder what Bruce Lee might have done.
Yeah.
But I think, like I was saying, where like Elvis was the missing link for rock and roll. America finally had its white karate star with Chuck Norris, and that might be what funded all these movies. Whereas um, Jim Kelly maybe made a bunch, but they just weren't spotlighted as much. Um, but yeah, man, uh, hell of a run,
Yeah.
Chuck Norris. And he was pretty active all the way to the end. I mean, you saw him here and there all the time. So, uh, but 86. So he passes away in Hawaii. He got sick. They put him in the hospital, and that was it. Like, you didn't hear that he was ill or anything, and then all of a sudden he's gone. So
Yeah, and there's no real official statement on exactly how he kicked the bucket. Same with Phil Campbell from Motorhead, which, by the way, I don't
yeah,
know if we have
I don't think we've mentioned that, but yeah,
paid
Phil Campbell.
tribute. Yeah, another
Yeah,
Motorhead cat.
yeah. I mean, I think
So,
the only ones that are left is um, Robbo from Thin Lizzy, and
Mickey
the
D
Mickey D, and the drummer they had on
on parole. On parole or the other guy?
the other guy from
Oh,
March, or I mean from
Yeah.
another perfect day.
Yeah, yeah. No,
But
no. Filthy Animal was another perfect day, but they had another guy in that in between period.
Iron Fist maybe, or
No, that was Filthy Animal
that
too.
is filthy.
It's during the the years where they did Killed by Death and all that shit. There was
Oh, okay.
some other guy was crammed in there for a
Yeah,
while.
that's who I'm thinking of. The no remorse era.
Yeah, before Filthy came back. So
Right, right.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, yeah, man. Sad to hear that, but anyway,
there you have it.
get out there and get you some breaker. Good guys wear black.
Yep.
Top notch shit. Force of One, you just go back through the list. They're all just fucking great stuff. So,
Cool.
all right.
Alrighty there. Well, there you have it. Got more shit lined up as usual. We know everybody, thousands of millions of people out there just. I know you guys don't even do any. You just sit around and watch Spotify and YouTube to see when
Yeah,
the next
when's the
episode.
next? Yeah, when's the next? Yeah, and we're here
Episode.
for you,
Yeah,
slaving away.
yeah. Coming up with
Um,
shit. So,
yeah.
yeah, there you have it. All right.
All
Well,
right.
peace out.
See ya. Deuces.